Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for this Southeast Steuben County Library presentation of poetry. I would like to thank the Friends of the Library, SSC, for making this program possible. And I would like to introduce Akua Lezli Hope, the 2022 Grand Master of Fantastic Poetry, SFPA, is a paraplegic creator and wisdom seeker who uses sounds, words, fiber, glass, metal, and wire to create poems, patterns, stories, music, sculpture, adornments, and peace. Her collections include embouchure, poems on jazz and other musics, Writer's Digest Book Award winner, Them Gone and Other Wares, Speculative Poetry, 2021 Elgin Award winner. A Cave Canem Fellow, her honors include the National Endowment for the Arts, 2 New York Foundation for the Arts Fellowships, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Poetry Association Award, and multiple Best of the Net, Riesling, and Pushcart Prize nominations. She won a 2022 New York State Council on the Arts grant to create Afrofuturist speculative pastoral poetry. She created the Speculative Sundays poetry reading series. She edited the record-breaking sea-themed issue of Eye to the Telescope, number 42, and Nambono, an anthology of speculative poetry by BIPOC creators, the history-making first of its kind, Sundress Publications 2021. She is working on 3 new speculative poetry anthologies for 2023, Speculative Cats, speculativecats.com, or Arboreal Dreams, speculative-trees.com, and Black Multiverse, blackmultiverse.org. And I would like to welcome Akua to read for us now, and I will spotlight her.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you to the library. I want to say right now that I'm joined by 2 wonderful poets who I will introduce at length later, but they are Wendy Low and Karen Alpha, and you'll hear them after me. What we decided to do is to read in little groups. So I will read 3 poems and introduce Wendy, and Wendy will read 3 poems, and then I'll introduce Karen, and then we'll go back around in a circle. On the One. Where my heart wants to go, wild, blind, and thickets of purple grass where buffalo rocketing quadruped roam, near side of dawn's yoke once over, meet heat caressed dusk by shores of baptismal rivers surging, baptismal river surging, wash me down to heal, heed the color code of autumn, graffiti of flora, most fluid gold ring round the rose, seed of hop, seed of mollusk, precious spit, precocious blasphemers of prodigal tongues, this tilting wisp called gift of axis, babble lean on your corners. Our first separation was language. Our next, never listen. What is religion? I gotta call you. I gotta call, ride me, lift me, cradle my chords in your ears after pluck, this blossoming irritant, this pain forged jewel. Will you help me? Help me. You're an agony longed for. On the One. Songs They Could Sing, number 482. And if you want to play along, think of the first letter of each line. I'll try and hold up my finger to show the line breaks, because the poem is the person's name. Brace my loins toward light's arrival through the presence of all colors rising in star-stung heavens flashing. Lyric beacons, how doo-wop always churns our core. Accent on clave, mi novio, wing your shattered nose. None can claim your double-minded stretch, block boy. Deny the fate you tempted solo, lost to love. Songs they could sing, number 482 for Roland. My funny Valentine. Miles, suddenly lucid, read emotion, not cool as victimized cool, black leather, grease-haired, nor primped and prepped stats of face shadow, abbreviation and misnomer. 'Tis inevitable cacti of meaning, inner joy's examination, quiet fondle in pause, moments, only moments, shape this catechism's arch toward consolation. Mend, crawl down arteries, stitch your hemorrhage with first here, longer hopes, purple fusion, hot and cold, metal, muscle, majesties of explanation, brick and mortar, people's symmetries face the sun. Know you? Never with surety. Promise each unveiling, never cease. My funny Valentine. Now I'd like to introduce Wendy Low. She writes poetry, prose, performance poetry, and drama with poems, stories, and essays published in Breaking the Silence, Desperate Acts, Hazmat Review, Napalm Health Spa, Rochester Woman, On the Poet's Walk at Memorial Art Gallery, and elsewhere. She bounces around in terms of form, being very enamored of the infinite possibilities and music of language. But her subjects tend toward delight in the natural world, the mystery of other people, and trauma and recovery. She currently works as a freelance editor, teacher, and writing coach, while also working at being a great friend, neighbor, and earthling. Wendy, welcome.
Okay, I didn't call myself a great friend. That was
I did. I did.
all right. I take it from you. I'll take it. Okay. So I'm doing poems of older love, and the first one is Inoculated Trees. And when you had that puzzled look, I thought it was because you don't know the word inoculated, and I didn't know it until like a week ago. And what it is it's the technical term for trees that grow together and join each other. And it can be different. And it comes from the word osculation, which means to kiss. And I just liked the word. So I could have called it Kissing Trees. That would have probably been clearer. But it's inspired by Ovid's Baucis and Fawn, who were two old, very, very old people who were very nice to the gods, and the gods let them come back as trees. One of the things, what they asked for in exchange was to die at the same time, so that neither of them would have to. I think it was a really beautiful wish. And so and they trees to guard the sown separate into this soil early on. Our trunks first met, and there the bark between has disappeared. Together we shelter chickadees and squirrels, shield from harsh sun shy ferns, sweet violets. As this autumn night falls and the wind up, our leaves shiver and sigh, our branches rub together and moan to one another. Who knows whether our buds will open on another spring? And yet, the tough skin nuts lay like root. And the second one is called Flame Dance. The flamenco dancers, arms of flame, dance around each other, eyes on fire as sparks burst from the wooden floor. Remember how once we were fire eaters together, wandering the river at night, setting the waters aflame? Remember when we ate nothing for a week but pomegranates and kissed each other with blood-stained lips? Of space then, would we were gypsies of time now, and the drip, drip, drip could not quench us. The dancers writhe with fire, and all we can do is watch and shiver as we wish and dread to be delivered, to be washed again as well in that tremendous sacred river of flames. And this last one is a choice of an outside poem, and it's by Robert Burns, who wrote a lot of love poems and put a lot of them to music. And this is my favorite. And Joe means my darling. And Brent means burnt. And Canty means frolicking. And Mon means much. I think you'll get the rest of it. Okay. John Anderson, my Joe John. When we were first acquaint, your locks were like the rave and your bonny brow was brent. But now your brow is bald, John. Your locks are like the snow, but blessings on your frosty paw. John Anderson, my Joe. John Anderson, my Joe, John, we climb the hill thegither, and many a canty day, John, we had with one another. Now we must totter down, John, and hand in hand we'll go and sleep thegither at the foot, John Anderson, my Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. That was lovely. I didn't meet Burns until later in life, and then I realized that I'd heard something of him all of my life. So thank you for sharing that. I'd now like to introduce Karen Alpha. After a lengthy sojourn in the short story, Karen Alpha has recently slipped into the back door of poetry and found a small space there with a comfortable chair. She plans to stay for a while. Her poems have appeared in the anthologies Common Intuitions, Women Celebrating Women, Knocking on the Silence, Finger Lakes Poetry, Listening to Water, the Susquehanna Watershed Anthology, the Sexuality Poems. Oh, I'm in that too. I like that. Poetry from Art, and more recently, from the Finger Lakes, Cayuga Lake Books, and Visions and Voices, the Arnott Art Museum. Several poems have received prizes from the Steele Library Poetry Festival, including first place, and from Writers and Books. Her two full-length collections of poems are That Year on Blackberry Hill and All the Blue in the World. Karen directed the short story project in Corning, New York. Her own short stories are widely published in literary journals. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you, Akua. Thank you so much. And thank you, Michelle. And thank you to the library. This is such fun. I discovered this really old one from maybe 1,000,000 years ago, and I'm going to read it just as a warm-up, okay? Melancholia. Wake up every morning now from a dream of you and lie in bed wondering what to do all day, half slept away. Maybe my mind is just folding you to put away like summer clothes in October. That was just a warm up, it doesn't count. All right, so one of the things I should probably tell you is that not too many years ago, I got a job being a lifeguard at the YMCA pool. They needed somebody. I was there all the time anyway. I said, okay. But it turned out I loved being a lifeguard. You can save people. Not only that, you observe. Your mind is totally involved in exactly what you're looking at. And that was so empowering to do that I started writing poetry there in the lifeguard chair and memorizing until I could run on my break and write it all down. And so all those poems became the first section of All the Blue in the World. I'm going to read a couple of them tonight. Learning physics. Tall fellow lies spread-eagled in the baby pool. Floating Gulliver, twin daughters swarm him. Lilliputians, maybe they're 3. Slippery little frogs and flowery skins, dripping ponytails over each ear. They wheel him, one at a hand, the other at the opposite foot. They spin him like a star, dancing, prancing, crowing at the joy of it. He lies fully relaxed on the water, submits to the prodding of babies. A nudge sends him sailing, power suddenly evident in their eyes. Emboldened, one belly flops onto his chest, rides him like a dizzy playground whirligig. The second piles on, sending him under. He sits and gathers them up like ducklings. So tenderly he lifts them. Rising up to stand, one girl cradled, her back to his chest. He whispers something, head to head, then falls backward, so slowly, tower toppling, to the whomping splash, Red Sea parting in waves. They come up giggling, float apart. The other lifts her arms, all she needs to do. He sends her such a gorgeous smile that for just a second, you fall in love. A man playing with his children tells you everything. Learning physics. Encanto wrote this for a songwriting friend. Meet me in the water. We can talk. Bobbing gently, beginning rhythm, our plain words turn to poetry. float by me, touch toes without meaning. Vapor rises from our mouths, shoulders gleam, awash, our laughter liquid. Who can say these words in dryness? Who can think the thoughts of fishes wishing, calm, deep wishes of mussels, gill breath, spinal cortex, undulations deep in the brain, primitive desires. Your heart pumps, a song breaks the surface, billows into the wet air. Come in from the cold. And canto. I too have a poem I'd like to read from a friend. This is from Marianne Taylor Hall in Kentucky. And she has a lovely book called Out of Nowhere. This is her poem, A Flask of This. The old lopsided hula hoop of time swings round, swings round, swings round the slowly shimmering sun. Who are we, my love? Excuse me. Who are we, my love, taking this sliding ride, careening through our uneven days and nights? Here's fall again, our wedding month. The slanted light comes back to speak of what we will be missing later on. The long light, longing just ahead of time for what is not yet gone, for itself, in fact, drifting through early haze, touching the spires of firestock, the dragonfly sunning its wings on a rock, the breeze, the gentle living air. We need a flask of this to see us through, to pass to one another as we go, to help us through the iron days to come, to make us drunk. Oh, drunken globe of the earth in your wobbly course, nothing is lost forever, is it? We'll come round to this again. This day will come again, and we'll be in it. Marianne Taylor Hall, Out of Nowhere.
Thank you, Karen.
Here's her cool picture. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. This is Song Through the Wall. You will not punish me. You will not split me in two. You will not knock on my doors. You will not tap on my wall. You will not enter. You will not exit. You will not park your car in my garage. You will not contain your missile in my silo. You will not conjugate me. You will not fiddle, faddle, or dally me. You will not find my treasure. You will not lick my pot. You will not fill my refrigerator. You will not butter my roll. You will not toast my bagel. You will not baste my chicken. You will not taste my manna nor sip my nectar. You will not fry my egg or lick my bowl. You will not yin my yang, ting my tang, or sniff my yoni. You will not raise my dead spirits or my hopes. You will not run your trains down my tracks or through my tunnel. You will not rain on me, flood me, thunder me, or lance me with your lightning rod. You will not be a bee to my flower, nor a beer to my honey. You will not move my mountain, nor the earth under my feet. You will not look at me and smile with those seducer's eyes, nor will you speak to me with that steel melting voice. You will not know my next move. You will not guess what I need. You will not make me love you. Song through the wall. Now this is for me and my last poem for this evening, Resurrections. They are a happy couple, comfortable in their knowledge of each other, relaxed bodies, smiles, conversation, a gentle teasing of the detective who still doesn't guess his wife's motives or his daughter's, but knows their hearts better than any others and worries over all between cases, strives to be good, for which they tease him when he fails, makes me cry as any good fiction resurrects you. Even the ones you wouldn't like, but would watch with mommy and tell me you sussed it out before the end. Saw it coming, even as you sat still for our rough ministrations, as we braided your balding ring, examined your thick nails, pinched, poked, and tickled you. You made her endless cups of tea that got cold. You confessed that you weren't Superman. I cast you in that role anyway. What returns is the love. When the stone rolls away, what flutters forth is love. Why they wept was not just for his tortures, but the loss of his presence, the scent of his sweat, his striving and kindness, his generosity, his huge heart, the warmth of his strong, large hand holding theirs. For the love they were left to carry forth in the world alone. Resurrections. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so last three go off of romantic love. I don't know where I got this because I can't find it, but what I heard this, it'd be a children's book I read, but that he was in prison as an early Christian in Roman territory, and that he sent letters to his friends by dove, by pigeon or whatever, and that they came signed your Valentine. And that's where we get that. And I don't hear that anywhere else. And I looked it up on, I mean, the internet seems not to know it. So maybe making this up. So I think I love my friends very much. And that's the kind of love that I think of with St. Valentine. And Hallmark be damned. I make my own. I make my own and I send them out to friends. Yes, like Akua's, beautiful, beautiful one. So this is a poem I wrote a long time ago for a young friend who I had been a student teacher, and then we ended up, because we were both poets, she had been my student and we ended up being roommates. And she was one of those young women who excites everybody. It's so anyway, green, I love you, green. Kathleen, Kathleen, your hair is turning green. The air is eating up pieces of your hair. I can grow old and die, but I can't watch you turn 19. Sunset is burning up the edges of your green, though you scatter your young girl smell to mix with the linden bell's green burst. Though you sway in your chains like seaweed and hips, lips twirl through the twilight air. Beware, beware. You too can be caught like a silver fish, like a fish in your long green hair. And then this is to my son, who I also loved greatly, and is making Valentine's dinner as we as we do this. When he was still one, we taught him a trick. Oh, by the way, going back, Leslie published this in one of my favorite projects of poetry, where they went out to people in Meals on Wheels. 1, when he was still one, we taught him a trick. We'd say, Marcel, what's a 12-sided shape? Dodecahedron, he'd sing. And we'd turn to our elderly friend, Stan Tenenbaum, the only admitted American communist I ever met, who'd walked off his tenured job teaching math at the university after spitting on the president's shoes, and say, do you think he might be a genius, Stan? The joke was that Stan had a ready rant on the pushing of mathematical prodigies by ambitious families and how it broke their spirits. Was anything but standard issue, a true American original. Dodecahedron, a 12-sided shape. We should have had 12 fingers, Marcel said the other day. Base 12 is so much better. And it is like I'm looking at him through a prism. He has sides I'll never understand, sides I'll never know. This last one is a little weird. It's I let this reading propel me to start a poem that I've been writing in my head forever and never started. And elegies are also love poems. And so this is an elegy. And it's going to be a long poem, so I'm only going to read you part 1, which is half of what I've written at this point. She. I loved her so. Young and creative, she spun alone in an orbit all her own, but soon she felt no solitude as mother of so many children. She had moods, so many moods, her sunny days and stormy days, calm warmth and bitter stinging days, and days of explosive fury, sometimes all on the same day. Immensely wealthy, she had water in her garden, so many forms of water, steamy humidity of cool fog, glaciers of ice, cataracts and fountains, oceans and puddles, and teardrops of water. She had energy, all forms of energy, nuclear, radiant, thermal, vibrational, and alas, she had life, a grand garden of life. On her estate grew every form of fern and flower and trees, so many kinds of trees, bask in the glow of her first love and hunkering down to drowse under the watchful eye of her constant companion, the moon. Her green children extended from green lagoons to tangled jungles to thin layer of mosses at the tops of alpine mountains. She had a vast menagerie. She held her many children in a womb of waters, and on her ample lap, and on her broad shoulders, and birds alighted on her fingers. She had deep, dark forests of towering trees and cool silence at noon. She had savannas and prairies where the grasses whispered and the creatures flitted from bush to bush to stand of trees in an eternal game of hide and seek, survive, replenish, change. She had deciduous woodlands and folding meadows, sparkling streams, deep lakes, every story from the cellar and the cistern to the garret penthouse. She had trout flashing and diving. She had snakes swiftly into holes. She had toads and frogs and salamanders along the muddy borders. She had butterflies. She had squirrels chattering in trees. She had ravens calling across ravines. She had deer stepping lightly and alertly out of shadows. She had joy in repetition and joy in evolution. And then, late in life, she birthed us, a tribe of younger children who pleased her in green infancy by praising her. Composed children grew. They wanted to know depth and climbed and dove and flew.
I'd like to read another poem from All the Blue, and this one is not in the pool. Now we're in another section of also water poems, but they are in the ocean and big water, out in the Caribbean. Probably this one is with your mask and fins on and in the water. It's called Bonaire. A wonderful place. Bonaire. Floating alone at the scary edge of the deep blue, where reef fish won't venture, you can see down so far into some kind of infinity. You can see as far as Imelda Marcos' shoes. You can see the roots of the Himalayas. You can see a crashed B-52 off the coast of Vietnam, the Library of Alexandria, and the lost Grecian marbles of Praxiteles. You can see the Earth's plates colliding for the next earthquake, and all its sinking dead, and the kicking feet of its living. You can see the bracelets of slaves. All the blue in the world won't come between us. Once you wrote to me, I remember you as my blood remembers the sea. And I thought, there's nothing more to say than that. Now these rings slip from my fingers. I let them go deep, spiraling down and away, sweetly glinting, rather like the death of love. You write, it's still there. I write, of course it is. Though these are just letters from the sea of imagination. Bonaire. This poem was titled Summer, but just for tonight, I'm going to change it to Hot Pie. Hot pie. If only I knew how, I would send you a little video of this strawberry rhubarb pie, just out of the oven, sweetly bubbling on the kitchen counter, because I know how you love it. So it makes me think of you now, for I only make a strawberry rhubarb pie once a year. Soon it will be too hot to bake, and my rhubarb plant is small. The crust of this pie is sprinkled with sugar, golden brown, the thick red juices bubbling up through V-shaped slits into small pools round as a mouth ripe for kissing. Sweet juice boiling underneath, slightly gelling now over the sugar surface. If you were here, I would cut you a slice. When it cooled enough, when it firmed enough, I would slide it off the knife onto a plate. I would scoop a hard scoop of French vanilla ice cream, the kind you like, the kind with the ground black specks of real vanilla bean onto the almost still hot wedge, its red fruit oozing out on the plate, handing it to you with a fork. Then we would eat it for breakfast. In the dead of winter, I would play it again for myself. My little video, 3 or 4 minutes of burbling, molten strawberry rhubarb pie, and I would remember this morning. Eating pie for breakfast with you, the taste of it on my tongue, the heat of it at the base of my throat, and I would remember summer. Hot pie. Last one. Called Heart. In the city of your heart, the ocean is only a block, maybe two away. The neighborhood is full of trees. There's an open air farmer's market in the park across the street every weekend. The farmer grows fruit, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, peaches, and apples endlessly. You make blueberry pancakes on Sunday and take him a plateful across the street. And that afternoon when he closes, he brings you a blueberry boxful for free that you eat all week. In the city of your heart, there are bike paths everywhere you want to go. And a bus system everywhere too, with buses that actually have bike racks on them for your bike and everyone else's all day, all day. And the rain doesn't fall day after bleak day, as you've heard, but in a frequent fine mist, and then the sun comes out. Nearby in this city, there is a dog park for your dogs, a much nicer and bigger dog park than the one in Brooklyn where your dogs grew up. And this dog park that your dogs love so much, this dog park has a dog beach where your dogs swim joyously for hours. Here in this city, right from your front yard, you can see the mountains. They reach to the sky. Even in summer, they are covered in snow. Your heart stirs at the sight every time, just walking out your front door. And you are drawn up there like trout to their stream, like the arrowed needle to north, like waves to the beach. You are drawn to distance and deep, satisfying breaths of the thin air. There, an entire continent away, where you have moved, my child, to the city of your heart. Here in the city of my heart, I find there is an unexpected traffic jam. Its passages seem slowed down, even blocked. And I am constantly turning this way and that, trying to find a clear way through. Soon I will, I know, discover a map of arteries, a paper map to write on and trace the pathway deep inside that mothers and fathers follow. Heart. Thank you all very much. This has been fun.
Oh, that was so lovely.
Thank you, Akua. Thank you. Oh, I love the poems
Thank you,
read.
Karen. That was so lovely. The map of arteries. I love that image. Thank you, Wendy. Love you, our Earth Mother.
I enjoyed this so much too, and it's been wonderful listening. And I don't know that I've ever heard your work before, Karen. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I loved yours. I love them. Yes, we write poems. We love poems to our children, don't we?
Well, they're
the big love. Yes, they are.
I knew that, you know, what's interesting though, is I knew that I would understand love in a different way with a child.
Mm.
What I didn't know was that I would know what fear was in a
Mm.
way that I had never anticipated or known existed. It's just
Mm.
different.
Mhm.
I mean, being afraid for myself is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Corning Public
Yeah.
Library. We've got 5 minutes before 8. Did anyone in the audience want to speak to us or ask questions of the poets?
This is Judy. Hi, Akua, it's Judy, your friend.
Hi, Judy.
Yeah, hi. I really enjoyed that, everyone. Thank you very much. And Akua knows this. I'm not a poet, and I often I don't listen to a lot of poetry except with you guys and with these readings. And it was great. So thank you very much. And it really kind of opens up my world, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So much for coming, Judy. Thank you.
Sure.
Judy went to Williams College with me and Fred. So it's delightful that you are both here. And I don't know if that Matthew is Matthew Carney. Well, he's not saying anything, just in case it was, because Matthew Carney is a neighbor in Corning. But it
Wonderful.
might be another Matthew, so
It could be.
he's being shy.
There are some Matthews out there.
I know there are a lot of Matthews. I
am the one in Corning.
Thank you for coming, Matthew.
Hi,
Thank you
Matthew.
for
Thanks
being
for
there.
coming.
Oh, so nice to hear your voice.
So nice to share all of your voices.
Now, Matthew was responsible at one time in life for getting me books of poetry because he worked for a bookstore. And so it was through Matthew that I would order books of poetry. I just wanted to mention to people, there is a place, Haiku Universe, HIAKUNIVERSE. If you're hungry for some more tidbits of poetry for today, with the 24 hours of Valentine's Day, they're having a different haiku every hour.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
And
Thank
I would like to mention that please join us on February 24th for Black History Month poetry reading with Akua Lezli Hope. Again, it will be on Zoom from 7 to 8 p.m. And the link for that can be found both on the library calendar at ssclibrary.org and through the event on our Facebook page.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Michelle. Thank you,
Thank you.
Southeast Steuben County Public Library.
Thank you. And thank you so much for joining us, everyone. It was so wonderful to hear all your words in your own voices. And just thank you so much for sharing your wonderful creativity with us. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening.